All right, and we'll be getting started in just a minute. I just wanted to take a moment and thank everyone again for joining in here. Looking forward to showing you guys through this topic a little bit more. I think it's one that maybe we don't speak quite enough about in Knowify, but it is an important feature set for people trying to automate things, and hopefully you learn a lot from these sessions. And that makes the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and just get us kicked off. One last time, just like to thank everyone for joining in today. Today's topic is going to be on creating and using templates in Knowify, different ways to kind of speed up the process of building out project plans and proposals, things like that in your Knowify account. Um, More specifically, our full project plan templates and our individual phase templates. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Terrin. I've been at Knowify for the past 9+ years. And my job here is basically just to make sure that people are happy with us, whether it's our processes when you reach out to us on the support side, just any interaction with our team, but then also things around our product, just making sure that the product is up to speed with what you need it to do, and then also make sure that you're as familiar with how to use the product as possible. And that's kind of how we have these sessions, just to make sure that you're getting the most out of your subscription. You're using every piece of the product that's going to help you with your business when you're using Knowify. Um, now, again, today's topic is on templating in Knowify, specifically plan and track templates and service templates. It's maybe one of our I don't want to say simpler subjects, but it's one of our quicker subjects because it's more specific on two specific features in Knowify as opposed to a broader topic like when we have a budgeting webinar. But I'm going to do as deep of a dive as I can into these and hopefully explain a little bit more about how these can be used and show you how it can help some of your processes internally when you're using Knowify to save you some time and just maybe make your use of Knowify a little bit more efficient, get the most out of your account. And I always start with some slides. That's what we'll be going through in steps 1 and 2 here. Just kind of go through a slide deck, explain what I'm referencing in Knowify when I talk about plan and track or service templates. And then I'll pull up my demo account and just show you the process of putting these together and then actually using them when you create jobs. At the end, we'll also do a Q&A. If you have questions during the webinar, please submit them in Zoom's Q&A feature. I have my associate Vin who answers the smaller, shorter questions just to make sure we get as many questions answered as possible. Since we don't always have a lot of time at the end to go through them, that's also how we'll answer any of the unrelated questions. So anything that's not on topic, usually we try to answer in the Q&A via Vin. But the longer form ones that are on topic, I'll follow up at the end of this webinar and maybe show you in my account and try to answer in a little bit more detail to make sure that any questions you have about the topic get answered. That being said, I'll go ahead and kick us off, starting in creating plan and track templates. Again, there's two different types of templates that we're going to be covering here. The first one is the plan and track template. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the plan and track side of Knowify is where we do all of our cost tracking and planning and basically all of our project management. So this is where we're going to be able to have a list of budgets, different categories that we're budgeting, what we'll call phases. We'll be able to have work orders associated with these. And having a good plan and track template can really save time when it comes to the process of putting together budgets and plans. So if I have a lot of jobs that look similar to one another, instead of me starting from scratch every time and saying, phase one, here's my list of materials I need. Phase two, here's the list of materials I need. I could just pull up the template and say, here are phases 1 through 5. Now make any adjustments that are specific to this job as opposed to the generic overall project plan that we work with. Um, and that's really the benefit of having a plan and track template. It just kind of uh, saves the time that the repetitive nature of entering the same phases over and over again, the same list of materials over and over again. Um, what happens is when your plan and track is in budget mode, you'll see that you have this option. It's shown in this screenshot, but it's the use this template button, which will make it so when you're creating a new job and you have to use the professional style because we want to start with a blank set of phases, basically zero phases, which is only available in professional because we're starting by building those phases before we get to the contract. Um, and so when we save something as a template and we have a blank plan and track section, we'll be able to type in the name of that job and pull that up to pre-populate the budget side of plan and track as our um, plan and track for the new job. Um, and I specified the budget because it's not going to pull the actuals in. It's just to have the estimating side, the pre-active project side pulled over and copied from one job to another. And it's available on existing jobs. So let's say you completed a job that you didn't plan on using as a template. You really did a great job building out the budget. You find out that you came in almost exactly on budget and you want to say, okay, I want to use that again in the future. You can always save those as templates. But I always like to build out templates in my accounts. So I have just something that I can lean on, just a kind of a jumping off point of, hey, every time I create a job, I'm using these three phases, and each of those phases has these budgets enabled. And then I can make it easy to search by saying template, and we can have multiple templates, but I can make them easy to find and select the right template whenever I'm starting a new job. And again, what it'll pull is the list of phases, the cost categories that are enabled, the list of different line items inside each category. So for materials, it's the list of materials. For labor, it's the type of resource or roles that are going to be budgeted here. Um, and it'll also pull things like your work orders, your dependencies, things that are generally set when building out the plan. And if you want, you can set quantities if they're going to be consistent. If it's going to vary a lot based off of project to project, I always recommend setting quantities to one. So like in this example, I have primer quantity one. It still has the item. It's tagged with the correct catalog item. That'll sync accordingly to QuickBooks. It still has the unit cost in. So basically, instead of me having to create a new phase called priming, select primer, and then enter everything. I just pull up the template. It already selects everything. So all I ever have to adjust is the quantities when I'm using these. Um, and this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to look like when we're creating or sorry, using a new template. Basically, I'll have my blank plan track section. There's a button that says use template, and I select from my list of available templates so I can then have that pull in. Again, and it's going to have a full plan and track set of phases with their budgets associated with them at any point in time. Um, and we let you select again because you can have multiple templates in your account. Don't think we even limit how many you can have. So if you have a lot of different types of work you offer, that's a great way to separate and make sure that you don't have to always lean on the same project plan over and over again. But again, the idea is that this should help you automate process and kind of speed up the budgeting side of Knowify. And it should also give you a little bit of consistency across your plans as you go through this as well. Once the budget's in the system, everything from that point on goes through with like the normal Knowify process. You could still create proposals off of this. You could still track all of your actual versus these budgets. It's really just the process of building the budget that's different here. Um, Now, the other type of template we'll cover today is the service template. So, in the same way that we have the plan and track template so that we don't have to repeat ourselves when building out a full project plan, the service template gives us maybe a little bit more power because it's going to put in some of those quantities for us. But the service templates are going to happen at the individual phase level. Service templates can also be used for both budgeting and quoting. We'll cover a little bit of that through the demonstration part of this. But basically, when I create a service, like in this screenshot, it's tiling, I can say, this is a template, and we want to put in a calculation for how we budget tiling for every square foot. Then I can build out some other parts of the phase, like our default scope of work, which will show up as the work order in the phase. And then I can put in how much we usually charge for this service. But then I can also put in what we usually buy for this service or our usual budget for this service, where I could say either, hey, for every square foot of tiling, I need to buy 1 square foot of tile. Or I could say for every square foot of tiling, I need to spend $4 in materials. So you have the flexibility of either being specific or vague based off of preference. And then aside from the materials, you can also budget for labor at this point in the process. You could say, here's how many minutes of labor it takes for each unit. You can have a budget for subcontractors, equipment, miscellaneous expenses. It's just a way to kind of speed up the process of building phases and line items when budgeting. Um, Now, once I'm in my plan and track section, if I have a live plan and track section, I'll have the ability to use a service template, enter in a quantity of my specific unit, and have it automatically create the budget for me. Where in this case, it's tiling per square foot. If I put in 200, it's going to say how many units of tile, how many hours of tradesmen we need. It'll create the phase for us. We could control rounding, things like that. Um, and again, it's just going to build out all of the phase budget lines instead of me having to individually write them in one at a time, especially if my calculation for how I budget out phases is relatively consistent and there's not too much variance. I can also use it in the contract itself by putting in a number of units. The difference is it's going to put in the itemized parts into the bill of materials in a line item instead of putting it in as the budget of a phase. And again, we'll cover this all. It'll make more sense when we see it in real time. But with all that being said, I'm going to pull up my account and build out a couple samples of either of these just so you can kind of understand how this all works. So I'm going to add a new job and I'm going to call this template 2. I already built template 1 and I'm going to show you how that's going to be used really quickly. I could choose any customer. It doesn't matter because we're not sending anything to the customer here. Um, and I'm going to choose fixed price because fixed price lets me have a job costing style, whereas cost plus defaults to advanced. And I want to use professional because this lets me build out a budget, build out a plan before I actually start working on the contract. I don't need to have an active contract associated with this. So I'm in plan and track here, and you can see it's blank. There's no project plan yet. Now, if I wanted to start building from scratch, I could just hit add new phase, but just so you can quickly see the process of using a template, I can click this use template button, and I have a template available that I built ahead of time. You see there's 3 phases, template 1, and this is basically what it's going to do. It's going to say demolition, framing. Framing uses these materials and these types of labor. Finishing, it can have work orders associated with it. Everything that I usually would have to write out one at a time, it'll just go take the jump forward and put that together for me. I'm going to try to wipe this out, beautiful, and start building a new template where I could say, first thing I need to do is rough in. And that's going to require wire, and it's going to require disconnect switches. And if I want, I could put in quantities here, but best chances are this is going to vary a lot based off of what I'm entering when I create the job. When I look at the plans, the quantities are going to be very different from job to job. So I like to just leave a one quantity here for the sake of uh, adjusting it when the time comes. If we want a number, that's fine, but this gives us a little bit more flexibility maybe when we're actually putting this all together on the actual job. Then again, I can set up different categories here. So for my labor budget, I could say I need a foreman, I need laborers, and again, I could put in one if I have a amount of time it usually takes rough in, regardless of size of project. I can keep that in here, but I can just put in 1 here for now. I can include a work order, rough in of wire as per plans. I'm not going to write too much more in there. And this is going to be just one phase that's saved as part of this plan. Um, then I'll do another one. I'll call this installation. And I don't want to spend too much time on this. So I'm just going to enable different cost categories. We need labor, subcontractors, installation as per plans. And I'm also going to do a dependency where I say, um, for this to start, installation to start, rough in must be finished, just so I don't have to set that when I create new jobs in the future. Now I'll go ahead and save this plan, click use as template, just confirm that that's used here. And now when I create a new job, let's say I'm no longer creating templates, but this is project 108 for this customer. Now all of a sudden things are real. I'm selecting who the project manager is, who the sales lead is. I'm putting all of this together just like I normally would in Knowify. But now instead of me going through the process of building a plan and track unique to this job, I can just use that use template button, select template number 2, apply, and you see it already has the phases built, the work orders entered, the dependencies set, and all I have to do is come in and adjust my quantities. For this specific job, I need 100 feet of wire. For this job, I need 20 switches. I'm going to need 40 hours, 80. But I don't have to select the individual types of unit. I don't have to rewrite the work order. This just speeds up that process for me just to kind of make it so things aren't dropped off. I don't need to remember to add wire now. Wire is just automatically included here. Um, Now, in the future, if things change, I need to make an adjustment to this template. That's fine because what we can always do is go back to template 2. And let's say I haven't used this project in a long time, so it's now hidden deep into my project database in Knowify. I can always, in my search, just say template. I do have to spell it correctly. And then pull up the different templates that I work with, make adjustments. Maybe we start adding a finishing phase to this, where most jobs I hire a subcontractor for $5,000. When I save the plan and track of this template 2 job, it's still saved as the template. So now the next time I use this template to create a job, it's going to know to add that additional phase on because we've adjusted the original job that the template was created off of. Um, and if I ever need to stop using this template, let's say I find that I'm not using template number 1 anymore, I can always just go to my list of jobs, say template 1, and in my plan and track, say don't use this template anymore. And now this won't show up in the search when we are creating new jobs and using templates. I also can always delete the job. That's an option as well. I like to not delete things if I don't have to. You can always close the job so it doesn't show up as easily. You have to search for closed jobs. But that's basically your options of creating, using, and managing templates, whether we need to edit them, stop using them as templates, things like that, for the entirety of a plan and track section. Um, One thing that's worth noting for people who are thinking more about the proposal side of things, if you use the professional style of job costing in Knowify and you want to template that out for the sake of a proposal, I still like to create a plan and track template because once you have all this in the system in as much detail as you can have it, uh, then from here it's pretty quick to just create a proposal by clicking that button. And you'll see that it's basically going to template out the proposal too, because it carries that information from the budget into that contract. So all I have to do is put in that final markup and then include what additional information I want on this. And again, it pulls over from the plan and track section, so I don't have to re-enter it. All I have to do is pick and choose what I want displayed on the proposal, what my markups are, the things that are specific to this job. Beyond that, you also have the ability to copy an entire job. So if you want to copy simultaneously the proposal and the budget for a project, you can always go to the summary and say copy job and create a duplicate job with the same plan and track section, contract, but change the name, change the customer, change the address, anything like that as need be. So those are our larger templates, the full project templates, or I should say the full plan and track templates, the copying jobs of the entirety of the job. But now I want to get into the service templates because I've always felt like this is one of our really neat, strong features in Knowify that can definitely speed up some time when it comes to building budgets. So I'll go to my catalog, and you can see that we have products and services, but then we also have what we just call templates. Templates you build by adding services and choosing this is a template option. And I'm going to build one for can light installation. I could say installation of can lighting as per plans, and each unit is one light. It's going to ask how much you charge per light. I'll say for every light we charge $50. Now, when it comes to budgeting, I can either say for every light, it's going to cost us $10 in labor. And that's great. It'll still give us a budget that we can track our actual versus estimated on. But you can see that you have that option of budget labor by minutes, where I could say for every light we install, I'm going to need a laborer on site for 20 minutes, and I'm going to need a foreman on site for 5 minutes. Now, this 20 minutes doesn't need to be an individual person. It could be multiple people working. Maybe it's four people working for 5 minutes each, right? Maybe this is just overall 20 minutes needed. But this way, it gives us a little bit more power and capability when it comes to estimating. So instead of us just having a dollar figure, it's going to use this information to estimate how much time it's going to take to complete a can light installation job. I'm going to up my price a little bit on this one because I think it's going to end up costing more. But you can see how we have the same option for materials, subs, equipment, miscellanea, where I could say for materials, I could say it's going to cost me $50 in materials per every light that we install. Or I could say for every light we install, we're going to need to buy I thought I had a can light in here, but I could say we need to buy wire. And for every light, we need 5 feet of wire. Um, and I could build this out using the different items that are in my catalog. I'll just use a widget for whatever reason until I can replace it with a can light. But you can see how this gives us the ability to build out a formula. And then we can use that formula when we're building a new budget for a job or when building a new contract. So I'll go to a job with a draft plan here, a budget, and I could say add job phase, use service template, and I can select can light installation. We need to install 50 lights. And Knowify will say, okay, then here's your material budget, here's your labor budget. I had a $0 miscellaneous budget, and then it's going to say, here's what you need to buy. This 50 widgets, which would be can lights. And I can always update that here if you have a more specific type of widget or light that you need to call out. Here's all of the labor hours you're going to need, and it just speeds up the process of putting that together. And so if you have a uh, whole pre-built set of service templates when you're creating a new job, the estimating process could be a little bit faster, where I could say, add a new phase. We need to do electrical rough-in for 500 linear feet. We also have to do can light installation for 50 can lights. And I can have a budget put together by Knowify really quickly, just like that. So I can start using this information to create a proposal. I had already saved a proposal from earlier, but that's the idea of how we can just use these templates to save us some time and put together projects really quickly and save us the repetitive nature of some of the work that goes into building out projects, building out budgets, and everything like that. Um, Then I mentioned that these service templates can also be used on the proposal side of things. So I'm going to create a new job really quickly and just show you how that could be used. And I'm going to use advanced as my job costing style, just so you could see how we can actually move in the other direction where we start in the proposal and go to the plan and track instead. It's not a preferred method of doing things, but it is something that you do have the option for. Where I can use that same method where from my proposal line, I could select electrical rough-in. It'll prompt for a quantity. This is where I would put in that 500. And you'll see that it uses the default price that I have for electrical rough-in per unit, but then it also pulls in these lines where I could say, actually do a 50% markup on everything. And it can quote a price like that. And if I need, I can always make adjustments here. And then I'll do that can light installation. We'll install 100 can lights. And then again, if I need, I can always override the default pricing on this. And then once this job is active, since I'm using advanced, it's going to create a phase of the job for every uh, line item in the contract. You can see, would you like to use those contract bill of materials to create your budgets? I could say yes. And now, without me actually creating a budget, Knowify just took care of it for me using the information that it had in the contract. And so you can kind of see how we are trying to speed up processes by saying, hey, if you have the information in your service templates already, quickly just enter them in. Let us know the size of the project in whatever custom unit you like to estimate in. We'll drop all the information in for you. And just like that, I can really quickly put together a whole proposal and have a plan and track section built for me automatically using the information that it has there. Um, I think that's most of what I wanted to cover as far as this webinar topic goes. Again, it is one of our shorter, more specific ones, but I just wanted you guys to see the different ways that we can automate these processes to kind of speed up all of the budgeting when it comes to putting together new jobs in Knowify. I did see some questions come in, so I'll pull up the Q&A here. Um, I see there's a question about service jobs. It's not on topic, but since I saw it come up, someone's asking how to get service jobs enabled. If you need service jobs enabled, reach out to our support team. We're going through some changes on the service jobs part of Knowify. So if it's something that you're interested in, reach out to support@knowify.com to get more questions answered, and we're happy to give you a little bit more info about how to get that turned on in your account. Um, There's a question about making templates in the service jobs module. That's not possible at this point in time, but it's definitely something that is good feedback, and I recommend using our feedback engine here to just submit anything that you're looking to add to Knowify. This helps you actually track the status of different bits of feedback that you've submitted. Um, and see what other people have submitted and add your vote to them as well, just to make sure that things that the majority of people are requesting get our attention a little bit sooner. So I definitely recommend using this if it's something you haven't yet. Um, Similar question about copying service jobs. Again, not at this point in time. This webinar is not very service jobs focused, so I just want to make sure I don't spend too much time on those. But if it is something that you'd like to cover in more detail with us, definitely reach out to our team. We're happy to set up a one-on-one training session to go specifically through service jobs as well. It doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. If there's, I do see some people asking about the feedback solution, and people asking about recording of the webinar. So uh, the as far as the feedback goes, in the bottom right corner, there's the question mark, and then there's feedback as an option here. If you don't see that, definitely reach out to our team. You can either email support@knowify.com or use the need help to reach out to us. But you should have the ability to submit feedback here. And then this open in portal is where you can track the status of different things that you've suggested. As far as this meeting being recorded, it's absolutely being recorded, and we send them to everyone that's registered. So if you're in this meeting, you're going to get this in an email. But you can also always check out our website under knowify.com/resources. And for select type, you could do Knowify training webinars. And you can see that our marketing team has been hard at work making sure that we have a nice library of different videos that you can review here. So if you want to see any of these that has been completed in the past, definitely check this site out. You can see a whole bunch of different topics that we've covered and learn a lot about how to use Knowify. There was a follow-up question about is there going to be a scheduling webinar, you can see that it's actually one of the more recent topics that's been discussed here. So again, definitely check out knowify.com/resources, and you can check that one out. But we do have these webinars going in a cycle, so be having another. We will be having another scheduling webinar at some point this year, very likely, since we're very early in the year. And if you want to have a one-on-one training specifically on scheduling, reach out to us and we're happy to connect you with your success manager who will do all the training for you there. Um, Someone's asking about adding an exclusions portion to the proposal section. One thing you do have the ability to do, and this is kind of a different type of templating, but worth mentioning, is in your customized section of Knowify, under defaults, you can include terms and conditions, or you'll see we could even call it terms and exclusions language as a default here. So I always like to use lorem ipsum as just a way to just fill this up, or fake Latin. Um, you can put in text here where I could say uh, terms, and then this can be exclusions. And then whenever I'm creating a new proposal in Knowify, I can actually just pull that from there into my terms and conditions in Knowify, just to have a default set of either of these at any point in time. And if you have more questions about this, or if you want to have something that's a little bit more specific to exclusions in your Knowify account, that's another thing our support team might be able to help you with when you reach out. And for the person saying they don't have a question mark in their account, reach out to our support team. We should be able to get that changed for you if it doesn't seem possible at this point in time. Um, As you're only showing the active template box, can you only have one active template at a time, or can you build multiple and pull from the same from them as the job entails? So you can only use one template on a job, but you can have as many active templates in your account as you'd like at any point in time. Um, and that's for the plan and track template. So when I create a new job, I can only select one of the templates for plan and track. So use template, I can either use template one or template two. And you can see that template two now has that finishing stage associated with it. If you need to use multiple templates on a single job, that's when I would recommend starting to use the service template, because you can use as many of these as you'd like. And you can even reuse them. You can copy phases if you need, but this is where you have the ability to get a little bit more flexibility and add multiple templates to a single job, just to kind of speed up that budgeting process as needed. We have someone asking about AIA. Again, not quite on topic, but just if you don't see it enabled in your account, it should be in your admin section under Customize and AIA style invoicing. If you don't see this as an option, it might be related to your plan, or if you're located outside of the US, we don't offer AIA invoicing at this point in time, just because it's something that's an American standard. So we only offer it inside the States now, but there is a chance that we will be able to have some kind of similar functionality for companies outside the US with time. It looks like that's the last question. I appreciate everyone for joining in and taking the time to learn more. Again, it means a lot to us that you guys are taking the time to learn more about Knowify, and I hope that this webinar was helpful and you guys can build out some good templates and speed up some of your processes internally. If you have any other questions that came up that I didn't get a chance to answer, or if there's anything that you saw in the webinar that maybe you don't see in your account, you have questions on that, just reach out to us. We're always happy to help. Just support at knowify.com is the best way to get a hold of us. We're quick to respond and always happy to help. Thanks everyone again, and have a great rest of your week. Take care.